Well, welcome and good evening. What a treat to see real faces on screens at 7 o'clock at night. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is an exciting night. It's a launch of a new community, CPActive. But before I go any further, please allow me for acknowledgement of country. I'd just like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners on the lands in which we all meet and pay my respects to Indigenous elders, past, present and emerging. We have people zooming in from all over the state, potentially all over Australia tonight. So I'm joining you from the land of the Dharawal people, and I invite you to join me in acknowledging the traditional owners of the land from wherever you join us tonight. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So thank you so much for joining us on what we hope is going to be a really dynamic, interactive night and discussion. I'm Bronya Metherell, I'm your host tonight. I'm no Ray Martin, but I'm going to give it a red hot go. Got a little bit more hair than Ray Martin. Professionally speaking, a little bit about me. I have long been involved in the cerebral palsy community. I've been working with Cerebral Palsy Alliance for almost 8 years and have a very deep and personal connection to the cause that spans right back to my childhood and also my own family. But before we go any further, just a little bit of housekeeping tonight. So this is the fun part. Tonight's event is captioned, so we have Auslan interpreters on standby, Imran Webb and Mark Sandon. So if you need Auslan, please hover right now your cursor over the video icon and click those 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner and select pin video. And that way we'll keep an eye on them throughout the event. Down the bottom of your Zoom screen, there is also a chat window. This is where some of the fun takes place. So please click right now if you can, or with some help, open up that chat and introduce yourself. Ask questions. This is where we want you to share your views, your experiences, your reactions tonight. And we'll be saving that chat and we'll be uploading that later so we can store all those wonderful comments and ideas. We're also encouraging people, please use your full name if you're comfortable and the full name of an organisation that you're representing. And we just ask that when you utilise that chat, please keep it friendly, keep it constructive and positive and supportive. This is meant to be a really supportive community atmosphere. From a tech perspective, we've got some support on hand tonight. Team Hannah and Jane are also in that chat. So if you're having some tech issues, don't worry, message them directly and they'll be able to assist you. And finally, if you haven't already, please turn your video on if you're able to, if you have that capability. It really adds to that personal atmosphere and that interactive tone that we want tonight. We want to see your faces, so turn that on when you're able to. And last but not least, we are recording the event and it will be uploaded online later. So for anyone that misses out, you are welcome to watch that at your convenience. So thank you so much for joining us. This is a kick-off night for CPActive. It's a new community and it's supported by Cerebral Palsy Alliance. I'm not going to talk a huge amount about CPA, but by way of background, for those of you that haven't yet been involved with Cerebral Palsy Alliance, CPA is a very old 75-year-old organisation that was founded in 1945 by a group of very passionate and persistent and ferociously impatient parents of kids with CP who really wanted to see a better world and the kind of supports that their kids needed to move through their lives. Since that time, Cerebral Palsy Alliance has grown into a really multifaceted organisation. So we provide services and support to thousands of families every year. We also have a world-renowned research foundation that's accelerating all those really exciting breakthroughs for the condition. And in recent years, we've even founded a tech accelerator that some of you may be joining us from tonight. Remarkable. It was Australia first, one of a world first initiative to accelerate disability tech solutions to market and make them into viable businesses. So enough about us. I'm really proud to work for an org that believes that we can do a lot better as a society. and an organisation that wants to interrogate some of those issues and do what we can with what we have. And that's what tonight and this community is really fueled by, that kind of hope. So just quickly, what is CPA Active all about? What's our vision? This is about championing for an inclusive society. And that means a variety of things to a variety of people. But with your help, we want to build a community of like-minded people who are really interested in taking collective action together for the sorts of changes and improvements we know we need to make for our CP community. And we've heard from you over the last many years and in recent months that you do want to be more actively involved in that mission and bringing that vision to reality. So we want to kick off this community, bring together wonderful people like you to help mobilise action together, share your stories, your views, your ideas, and empower each other at the same time, and hopefully have some fun along the way. So over the next few months, we want to take those opportunities to campaign on key issues, really pressing long overdue issues that require change. And that could be everything from improving education to ensure we have an inclusive education model for kids across Australia, to making employment truly and genuinely accessible, and everything up to implementing an early infant screening program right across Australia for every baby born in Australia, which is a big vision for our organisation as well. So by being involved and joining us tonight, you are part of something that we hope to be very special, and it's what we think is going to make this as supportive and empowering as possible. There'll be lots of ways that we'll be reaching out to you over the coming months. There'll be a variety of actions, whether they be big or small, that you can take with us. But ultimately, by joining the community, we're hoping that you will share your experiences and we can help raise those voices and those views with you. And we also want to give you the latest access to updates, information, research breakthroughs relevant to CP and similar conditions, and also give you the opportunity to do this, meet other like-minded people, inspiring people, some of whom we will hear from tonight. So I hope that you'll continue with us along this journey. I promise it will be fun. And in the theme of fun, I would like to turn to a couple of our special audience members who have very kindly volunteered to speak up tonight and share some of their views and their experiences. And so I'm going to start with someone special, Joanna Garvin, who is somewhere there on a screen. I'm waiting to see Jo's face. There she is. So Jo is a filmmaker and an advocate. She'll be very humble, but we know Jo well. She has spoken publicly on a number of issues over the years and is doing amazing things in the creative space in Australia as well. So hello and welcome, Jo.
Thanks, Brian.
I'm going to start by asking you, do you want to talk just briefly about yourself and your background first?
Oh, sure. So I've been a client of CPA since I was diagnosed with CP at the age of 1. And I work at Create New South Wales as a communications officer. So I'm doing lots of social media and interviewing lots of different people that were funded. And I also make quite a few films on the side, just about things that I'm passionate about, like the authentic casting of people with disability. I made a short film 2 years ago with the ABC around the whole idea of living with a disability and really wanting to show kids living with a disability that it's something to be proud of, and it's something that I'm always looking to do in wanting to challenge people's perceptions of what it's like to live with a disability and show that it's actually not a tragedy, just another way of being. So, and I'm also very lucky to be on the board of CPA, so I get to hear about what's going on. So it's great to be part of that.
Thank you, Jo. You're not a busy person at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So we could talk for a long time about some of the brilliant things that you've been doing both in your professional and personal life, but I think it would be great in the spirit of tonight. Do you want to talk about some of the issues that matter to you, and what sort of changes do you want to see in the community?
Oh, yes, sure. So I think what I've thought a lot about recently, the employment of people with disability, because it took me a long time to get any sort of paid work. I think I can't tell you how many times I applied for roles and wouldn't get a call back. And I did a lot of work with the CPA, with job finding skills, resume writing, and I just thought to myself often, I just really want a job. I don't want to keep volunteering. I just want to use my skills and be part of a team. And when I got my role at Create New South Wales, I was really shocked, and it took me a while to really enjoy the role and really push past that mindset of being grateful. And it's made me reflect on the fact that for so many people living with a disability, there's so much emphasis on just getting your foot in the door of employment, but there's not a lot of talk once you have secure employment, what your career path is. So that's something that I'm really passionate about at the moment, and I try and work with Create New South Wales in creating opportunities for people with disability in the film industry, because it's quite difficult in that industry, I think, for people with disabilities, because there's quite a few barriers, with networking and all that sort of stuff. And I also, another issue that I'm really passionate about is the inclusion of children living with disabilities at school, because I was often excluded from things, particularly in high school. Like I wasn't allowed to go on school camp. And when I was in year 11, some teachers called my mum into school and said, we think that it's best that Joanna leaves school now. We don't think she'd be able to complete year 12. Luckily, my mum convinced them that no, she was going to stay, because she always had high expectations of me and really valued education. So that's also something that I'm really passionate about, in trying to remind myself to always have high expectations, and to try and educate the community about that by having high expectations of yourself, you're able to do all sorts of interesting things, including having opportunities in education, because I think that really broadens your life experience. It certainly has broadened mine, and it's really made me determined to build my own successful life and look beyond the current role I'm in, and all sorts of things in a personal sense as well, like building relationships, advocating for people, and it's really made me passionate about social justice.
Thank you, Jo. Your mum sounds like a remarkable lady, so we're
She
not
is.
surprised. Thank you so much. Really important to hear those stories in the public forum. We want more of them. Thank you for sharing your story. I might offer up an opportunity to another amazing person who's also volunteered tonight, Lia Sintras. Lia, if you wouldn't mind taking yourself off mute. Hello, Lia. Another inspiring young woman. Lia, could you just first give us a little bit of an update? Where are you at in your life? What are you up to in life and work at the moment?
So, hi everyone, my name is Lia. I'm 23 and I have cerebral palsy. I've been with the cerebral palsy for 22 years, since I was very young. The Cerebral Palsy Alliance have helped me so much throughout my life, and I would not be where I am without them. So basically I wanted to start, like, when I was at school, this was a very challenging time for me because I was constantly having to show people that what I can do and tell them that just because I have a disability doesn't mean I can not be in a mainstream school. There's no reason why I can't be in a mainstream school. I just need extra support and help to make that happen. And because I went to a school that was established for quite a few years already, and the teachers were of an older generation, it was more difficult for them to accept new ways of working and teaching. And it was just challenging in the way that they would look at me and they'd be like, oh, she's in a wheelchair, she's got cerebral palsy, so she can't physically, mentally do what everyone else can do. So that was kind of their barrier to setting up work for me, going on trips, all of that type of stuff, which was really frustrating at times because I could do so much, but they didn't necessarily give me the opportunity or give me the time of day to show them what I can physically do rather than just seeing what's on paper and judging me all that. So like my primary school years were difficult. I would have carers coming in and out to help me with everything during the day, from my classwork to personal care, going on trips, everything that's involved with school. It was really tricky because when we were on different excursions, I couldn't necessarily physically do what everyone else could do, so I'd be sitting in the background for quite a bit of that. And then basically the same in high school as well. It was just more of the same and just trying to prove to people that I can do these things. But when it comes to more physical stuff, obviously I can't participate like everyone else, but there are other ways of me participating, but because they weren't educated enough and necessarily willing to accept that there were different ways of doing things and that times have changed and they need to adapt, it was tricky for me to speak up. And I was too young at that time to have found my voice, to feel confident enough and willing enough to show them, and I will show them different ways that I can do things without them judging me on my disability before they actually got to know me. It wasn't until I got to year 11 and 12 that I did switched from mainstream to a life skills program, which was basically everything to set you up for life. So basically looking at an invoice, learning how to pay that, looking at a credit card statement, learning how to pay those, basic maths, basic English. I actually had some really great teachers back then that I'd still be on this life skills program, but they would integrate me into the class with different sections of each class that they thought would be beneficial for me to be a part of. And together, my favorite subjects back then were probably PE and drama, simply for the fact that I could talk about sport for hours on end. But it was more than that. It was the teachers that I had that were willing to put in the time and the effort to get to know me before my disability.
Yeah. And sounds like some common themes there. It's those really important allies around you. So I hear there those critical teachers that wrapped all of that support and positive encouragement around you in those foundational years. Similar themes there from Joanna. We've got some wonderful support here in the chat. One here, so good to hear people living with CP who have been to mainstream schools and succeeded. The message that parents of kids with CP get is that they won't be able to cope. So untrue. With the right supports, they can. Lia, you've talked there about society and communities needing to adapt and get with the times. Do you want to offer up a few comments? I know that you've thought about this a lot. How can we improve? What can communities do to lift their game?
This one was a tough one for me to think about, only because I've got so many points that I could bring up in so many different ways of coming at this. But the main thing that I want to get people to try and understand is to get to know the person, and the disability will come with that. But you can't get to know the disability unless you get to know the person, because you can have the same disability, but they can be varying types. Like if we look at cerebral palsy in itself, there are so many different types of cerebral palsy that the person next to you might have the same disability, but a completely different set of circumstances in the way that they live in their general life in itself. So even though you might have the same disability, it's completely different in the same way as well. So basically the message that I want to get out to people in my first point would be just treat people with a disability exactly the same way that you would treat anyone else. And don't treat them any differently, because some of the relationships that you make with people with a disability can change other people's lives as well.
Thank you, Lia. We take that to heart and keep on your mission. Thank you so much, Jo and Lia, very much. I might just take a slight left turn, and I have the pleasure of introducing you now to Rob White. Rob's CEO of Cerebral Palsy Alliance, and really is a long-time ally for those living with CP and similar disabilities. Rob, you've just joined CPA, haven't you? You're new to CPA, is that right?
Absolutely, in the last few weeks. I love the way you say a left turn, Bron, then you introduce me. So it's great seeing everyone on tonight, and congratulations, Bron, you're on this wonderful idea, CPActive. It's obviously a huge success. You probably missed it, but there are people on. I've been looking at from Armidale, the UK, from South Australia, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Melbourne, Perth, East Maitland even. So, and a lot of Sydney people amongst quite a few, so it's huge success. Yeah, Brian, I have been around for a while. I've worked in the sector for quite a few times. Quite a few years. My background is a psychologist. I've worked in a range of areas within our organisation, including rehab, employment, therapy services, and then been in the management of the organisation for quite a few years. I suppose the key thing for me, you know, has been working with incredible families, people with disabilities, incredible staff and great boards over those years. So I've really seen the sector evolve and CPA evolve over those years.
And given that long history in the sector, Rob, do you want to share with us what sort of changes and evolution have you noticed in your time in the sector?
Oh, look, it's absolutely extraordinary what's happened in that period of time. It's really evolved. So if you go back in the old days, most disability organisations were started by families, and that was because there was no supports for their kids. And so organisations were built literally by families, as was CPA in its day. Over the years then, the government support started to come in slowly, but it was very much a charity sort of model. It was you got some grants from the state or the federal government, and then you relied upon fundraising. So there was always a short supply of services. So for years and years and years, it was really hand to mouth. You had to beg for services, you had to steal services or whatever. And the system was really under development. There was a lot of fragmentation. There was really no service guarantee to people whatsoever. So what it meant, if you get the best health services in the world in Australia, but then we were a long way behind the rest of the world. I think what happened in the early 2000s is the sector said enough, people with disabilities said enough, and they started to talk about this idea of an NDIS, which is something that Whitlam had talked about. So in 2007, that scheme was launched. It was launched with, it was thought about in 2007. It was launched in 2013 via a whole campaign, a bit like what we're trying to do here tonight as well. A campaign across the sector about the key issue. The key issue then was we need more services, more money. So the scheme started 2013, and today we've now got 450,000 people in the NDIS. So I think the other key things I've seen change in that period of time, there's been a huge increase of world-class research. Cerebral Palsy Alliance, you'll hear from Iona tonight, really leads the world in that cerebral palsy research space. There's been a huge increase in tech. So great increase in tech available to people. Again, we want to accelerate that even more. But I think more importantly, and you've heard that tonight, there's a huge increase in expectations by people. We are now expecting a lot more, and rightly so, and that is so important towards an inclusive life. So I think lastly, I think disability is talked about a lot more now. It's in the public arena. You read about it in the press every day, which is a fantastic thing. Not always great stories, but at least it's being talked about. And that's really important, because if we're going to change the world, and there's still a long way to go, we really need people out there having that dialogue every day.
Yeah, that's right. And look, we know it's not perfect, the infamous NDIS, and we'll talk a little bit about that next, but it is amazing, isn't it, that we have this, it was really a world first scheme, and it is in many ways, you know, the envy of so many countries around the world.
It really is. It is the best scheme in the world, and we should be really proud of it. We've all fought hard for it. And yes, it does have its issues, but, you know, it is just an extraordinary scheme where we quarantine this money that can be used to provide services to people.
So on that note, we might just briefly pause. We're interested to hear from those on the call tonight that have had an experience with NDIS. We acknowledge not everyone here with us tonight has. If you have, we're going to put up a snap survey in a moment. And we want to ask the following question. Overall, has the introduction of the NDIS made an impact for you? Specifically, has it left you better or worse off? So first option, better off overall. Second, worse off overall, or about the same. So indifferent. So if you have a moment, please go into the survey, provide us your insight. We want to be collating those throughout the call, and we'll do other surveys later in the conversation. So I'll just give everyone a few moments while you submit your answer. And while you do that, I'm really interested to hear from Rob, given your longevity and legacy, both pre and now during NDIS. We hear so much about it. It is a hot topic at the moment, particularly in the press and on the political agenda. But Rob, what really is NDIS, and what is happening at the moment? What are the major updates? Yeah,
look, the key things that are happening, it is good. There is a lot of dialogue, and we've still got a long way to go with it. But I'd say, to be fair, we're sort of 80% there as a sector in the NDIS. So we get, then that last 20% is going to be really hard. It's a really hard bit to get right. So what they've concentrated on over the last 7-8 years is to get people into the scheme. So there's now 450,000 people in the scheme. There's 16,000 providers, which is really quite extraordinary. And there is money there for people to take and actually use it to buy their services. That's the great thing about it. I suppose the key things that are happening in the sector at the moment, firstly, the minister's new. So the minister's just come on board. That's a time for the sort of government to reflect, to review what they're doing, to tweak the system, to maybe change what they're presently doing. So that's the first thing. So the first big thing that she has done is she's put a pause on independent assessments. So independent assessments, everyone has their views on that. We understand there probably does need to be some form of independent assessment done, but we don't think having an independent assessment done from someone who doesn't know anything about you, trying to get that assessment done in under 3 hours and write a report, it's an incredibly complex thing to do. So we do think there needs to be more work there. And I think one of the key things about the independent assessments that people were concerned about was that there was no appeal rights around the independent assessment as well. So we're glad that's been paused. We're glad there's time to look at that and review that, and to ensure that we're going to bring that in over time. It should be well piloted, and it should be something with a lot of consultation with the whole sector. I think the other thing is the scheme is, the third big issue is the scheme is very worried about the scheme be sustainable. So there is this emphasis at the moment to drive some costs down. So what I'd be advising people out there is to, hang on to your package. You really need to advocate for your package. There will be this trend towards trying to bring the costs of the scheme down. And in saying that, we understand the government has to be responsible. They have to work within that funding envelope that they have. but that is one of the key things that's happening with the scheme, and you'll hear them publicly talk about that as well a lot, about keeping the scheme sustainable. But again, we actually believe they've got a long way to go there.
That's great, very helpful. Thank you, Rob. We might just wrap up that poll for a moment. So if you haven't already, quickly get your answer in. Thank you everyone for engaging. I'll also say that the comments that are coming through and your contributions are fabulous. Keep them coming. We've got a lot of people sharing their insights from overseas. We have someone who would like in future to share their story from Turkey, from the US. What we would say to that is, yes, please, the more stories, the better. We will invite others up and there will be opportunity to do that in the future. We'll also be providing a contact mechanism via the website that we'll launch later in the conversation. So we can't wait to hear from all of you. At this point, before we thank Rob, I might just also invite a question to Rob or two on the NDIS. I think we've got a question here from Paul, who is a parent of a child with cerebral palsy. Paul, would you like to ask Rob a question or two?
Sure, Bronya, thank you. I mean, Rob, I guess you've talked about the NDIS and I guess it's generally positive, but what would you think would be the #1 reform that you'd like to see to the program now that we could take to government that would improve it?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Paul, because taking one thing, but I would think, hearing from families, they have a lot of pain points. And look, there are great people who work at the NDIS, really, and that they want the scheme to work. And what the CEO of the scheme talks about at the moment is, look, their big emphasis is to get 450,000 people in. What they'd like to do now, and I think the thing that we'd all sort of say is cut the red tape. A lot of red tape needs to be cut. We need to make it easier for people to get into the scheme, to get a plan review, to actually use their package in a really flexible way. So I think that's what the scheme really needs to work on in the coming sort of year. It's really important to make, when we go back to think about what was the vision for the scheme was that someone would get entitlement to a package of funds to spend it the way they'd like to spend it within reason. So within reason, but let's not make people go back every time they want to change a plan, every time they want to spend it on something new. We really need to reduce that bureaucracy and those roadblocks. So really to make it far more streamlined for people. That's probably the issue that I hear the most from most service users.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. So another hot topic, aside from independent assessments, new ministers, the NDIS, is the elephant in the room, COVID, the COVID vaccination program. We've had a lot of questions on this. So I've invited someone who's thinking about this every day in her role, Elise Taylor, who works for Cerebral Palsy Alliance. Elise is our General Manager of Risk and Strategy. And really is our brains trust when it comes to where, how and what for the vaccination schedule. So hi Elise, thanks for joining us.
Hi Brian.
So Elise, how important is it that people living with disabilities and their families get vaccinated for COVID?
Yeah, thanks, Brian, and thanks for inviting me to speak. It's an interesting way to introduce myself as the COVID lady, and it's hard to imagine a life without COVID anymore. But yes, I guess, from our perspective as an organisation, we would say it's really important for every Australian citizen to be healthy and well, and that includes many strategies, including vaccination. So we are certainly encouraging all of our clients, their families, and of course all our employees to have the vaccination when it becomes available to them.
And Elise, would you like to just talk about what is the current advice around how and where people with a disability and their families can get vaccinated? What are the steps?
Yes, well, certainly my advice is that the advice keeps changing. So one has to stay on top of this as you can well imagine. And so the health department is certainly the best source of information. What we do know, of course, is that there is a rollout plan. It's phased based on different priority groups who have been prioritised for the vaccination, and certainly people with a disability are amongst the highest priority groups in Australia to receive the vaccination. Unfortunately, that first phase of the vaccination was disrupted with the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines and some of the decisions made around the vaccinations that we can receive. But we're certainly in touch with government quite regularly, and we hope that that program, and certainly the priority program for people with a disability, will start to escalate now. Again, that's what we're hearing, that things will start to escalate now. There's a couple of different ways people can get the vaccination. There's a program specifically for people that live in residential supported group homes, which is slightly different to people that live in their own homes or in community. But all of those details are on the Health Government's website. There's quite an easy way to check where you can get the vaccination in your local community. But if anyone's unsure, I'd certainly recommend that you speak to your GP. They're going to be the best source of information to help people navigate their way and get the vaccination that's right for them.
Thanks, Elise. And in the chat, you'll see we have included that link, direct link to the health website page on information for COVID vaccinations for people living with disability. Please visit that site for information. Thank you very much, Elise, for that. I will, before we go on, just say we've got live results coming in for the survey from a few moments ago. So 80% of you have said that due to the NDIS, you're better off overall. So good news. In saying that, we have 2% that have said worse off and 18% about the same. Some interesting comments coming through here. I'll just quote Laura, who says, I'm currently justifying every dollar required for my daughter's package. Unfortunately, packages are offered with little justification by those who are not educated in disability. Life is already hard as a parent of a 2-year-old with CP and other disability. This just adds pressure. Unfortunately, we hear these stories often. I'm seeing a few other comments here. NDIS has been life-changing for my son and our whole family, but it's been a fight for every dollar. So for those of you with those stories, again, we'll be really leaning on you to hear more of those experiences, because it's really important when people like Rob and myself and others and you as our allies go to Canberra and talk to decision makers about the improvements that we need to make, backed by those stories, makes our chances of seeing that change come to fruition even higher. So thanks everybody for your honesty and for sharing those stories. I've got the great pleasure of introducing another very special person tonight. We're about to hear from Professor Iona Novak. Iona has been long involved in the sector, and I'll ask her in a moment to talk a little bit about how she landed where she is and what drives her. But a little bit Iona, because she won't say this herself. Iona is our Chair of Allied Health for Sydney University and Cerebral Palsy Alliance. She's also the co-founder of the Cerebral Palsy Alliance Research Institute. She's a 2-time Fulbright scholar and has a long track record in a variety of clinical trial, big data and neuroscience for CP. We don't have time to go through Iona's long list of achievements tonight, but Iona, welcome to the call. Thank you for sharing some of your time with us. You've been involved in the sector for a long time. Can you just tell us a little bit about your career and where it's led you?
Thanks, Bronya. I first met cerebral palsy when I was 4 years old, and her name was Louisa, and she was my best friend. And we were hanging upside down off some monkey bars when I first noticed this foot brace she had on, which I now know is called a caliper or an AFO. And Louisa caught me staring at her foot, and she said, I've got cerebral palsy, get over it. let's play. And when I look at Louisa from this side of my career, I'm touched that Louisa invited me to be her equal, to play with her. She didn't ask me to fix her cerebral palsy or fix her spasticity. She invited me to play. And my whole career really has been dedicated to trying to understand the research goals of people with cerebral palsy and to address those. So when we asked people with cerebral palsy what were their research goals when we opened the Institute, they told us number one was prevention of the condition. They didn't want other families going through this. They secondly said, what are the optimal treatments for people living with the condition? And thirdly, could stem cells have a role in repair of the brain? And so I guess tonight I thought I might tell you a little bit about some of the progress we've made against those goals.
We can't wait. So I would compel everybody, if you can, please stay on the line. You're in for a treat. We also have some music coming up after Iona. But Iona, could you kick this off? What are the big breakthroughs? What are the big highlights of the last 10 to 15 years for CP research?
Well, as you said, Bronya, our organisation, Cerebral Palsy Alliance, was started by some families, and they had a mantra, nothing is impossible. And we've tried to carry this mantra through into research. And I don't know if they knew how brave it was at the time to say nothing is impossible, because in my career when I began, the textbook said cerebral palsy was unpreventable, practically untreatable, and definitely incurable. And we've worked really hard to see if we could address these challenges with this mantra, nothing is impossible. So I'm going to tell you tonight the top 5 things that I think have happened in the last 10 years towards meeting those goals of families. And undoubtedly the biggest breakthrough is that the rate of cerebral palsy in Australia has fallen by 30% in the last 5 to 10 years with the Institute open. And you can see that corresponds by collaborating with people all over the world. And that tells me that the textbooks were definitely wrong, that prevention is definitely partly possible. So in real life terms, this means 200 Australian families this year and every year don't have a child with cerebral palsy because of this collaboration between clinicians and researchers and people with cerebral palsy. And if you thought about a 30% reduction in a type of cancer, that would be extraordinary. But it's even more extraordinary when we're talking about a permanent lifelong condition called cerebral palsy. So how do we achieve this? Well, there was a few interventions we've identified, and I put them here and we call them green light interventions. So 2 during pregnancy. The first one, giving a drug called magnesium sulfate, which you might know better as bath salts, given to a mother in a drip just before the imminent delivery of a baby born too early or preterm, can prevent as much as 30% of cerebral palsy, and also a corticosteroid to protect the baby's lungs and protect their brain. And that makes sense to us. There's obviously a strong connection between lungs, hearts and brains. And so a steroid injection can help with protecting the brain from injury. Also for babies born who are sick and in intensive care, if we know they're having a brain injury, to actually cool their whole body temperature down, and actually what we call hypothermia is to interrupt the brain injury, and that prevents cerebral palsy for 1 in 6. And also caffeine, not just for parents, but also for babies, can also protect the brain from injury. In addition to the rate going down, there's this extraordinary trend that's happening in Australia, is that severity is also lessening. So if you have a look at these 2 pie charts here, back in the 80s, about half the people with cerebral palsy could walk and half used a wheelchair. And fast forward to now, and 3/4 of people with cerebral palsy can walk and also talk. And what's really important about this as well is that they're even more likely to respond to intervention. So my friend Louisa, her goal was to play, and we can talk about what sort of interventions might help her do that. So people told us that they wanted to know what were the best interventions, what were the optimal treatments. This here is what we call the bubble chart. We actually mapped, there are now over 80 different interventions for people with cerebral palsy, and we colour-coded them. So green means they work, red means they don't work, and yellow is everything else. So we now know for people like Louisa, which treatments would help you be most included, which treatments would help you reach your goals. And this is important. We also know now how much of these therapies you need, and this can help inform people perhaps going to the NDIS or choosing from these plethora of treatments. Importantly also, that we have this breakthrough around diagnosis. So historically, the diagnosis happened close to 2 years of age. And that's because humans, when they're born, can't walk or talk. And so there was this sort of wait and see approach. Let's see if a child can't walk or talk, and then we'll decide it's cerebral palsy. But of course, when you take that approach, you lose this magical window of brain development. And we can see here that only 21% of children in Australia get a diagnosis before the age of 6 months, which is when the brain finishes connecting to the spinal cord and is therefore the optimal window for actually conducting intervention. So we wanted to see if we could change this, and we managed to collaborate with people all over the world and people with cerebral palsy to write a guideline about how to make an early diagnosis that was accurate under 6 months of age. So I think that's the top number 3 breakthrough. And we found that if you use 3 tests together, a brain scan, an MRI, something called the General Movements Assessment, or GMS as it is there on screen, and something called the Hammersmith, which is put up there as the Hind. When you combine these 3 tests, and they're all pointing to cerebral palsy, it's a 98% chance that the person in front of you has cerebral palsy. And that's well before a baby would walk or talk, any baby. And so it gives us the idea of what the right treatment at the right time for the right baby. And this last important point here is that we've identified many new causal pathways to cerebral palsy, and one of them is genes. And so up until recently, we knew there was some genetic basis to cerebral palsy, about 1% we could see on the register, and now we know it's as much as 30%. And this is incredibly important for fast forward to looking for new treatments, so maybe gene therapies in the future. And if you have a look here in this paper, there's extraordinary overlap. The blue circle is cerebral palsy, and autism spectrum disorder is the yellow. You can see intellectual disability and epilepsy. And there are 10 genes in the middle that overlap between all of these conditions. And this is very important information for us when we're thinking about new treatments and where to go. So I think the future is very bright. So when I look forward to what is coming, I think because people can respond even more to intervention, now we're looking at treatments that harness neuroplasticity, that help people with cerebral palsy achieve their goals and full inclusion. We're seeing breakthroughs in technology, and one example up here on screen is robotics that might help a person be more included or might conserve their energy so that they can spend their energy on interacting with friends and the things that are most important to them. And we're also seeing, excitingly, fast forward, the idea potentially of a prenatal diagnosis or a diagnosis right at birth using simple blood and urine markers, which would allow us to start treatments much earlier during pregnancy. And this might change the future as well. So I think in summary, we've made 5 major achievements against people's goals, and I think the future is really bright.
Thank you, Iona, for your hope and your determination and all the wonderful work you do. We always learn something when we hear from you. Lots of questions, queries and comments coming through here in response to your presentation. So I would ask Iona here, how can people get involved in this sort of research and the research agenda, Iona?
Well, there are many ways you can get involved, and you can see them on our website. I can think of 2 off the top of my head that might matter. So there's a group called CPActive, which is people with cerebral palsy and families who are co-researchers, co-designers of research. They're consultants to research, and that's a wonderful way to get involved so we can understand and learn from you, because you can improve and refine research, and then we're answering questions that matter to you. People might also be interested in joining clinical trials, so understanding whether some of these new cutting edge treatments work, and you can actually join clinical trials and you can find out about them on our website.
Brilliant. And we're posting those links in the chat window. There are some questions, some specific clinical and research questions coming up that I can see. Please, you are very welcome to forward those questions on to researchinstitute@cerebralpalsy.org.au, and also be sure to visit the link that we've provided there on further ways you can be involved. Thank you so much, Iona. Can't wait to hear more from you in the near future. Next up, we have something really special. Hold on to your seats. It's time to dance, if you will. I would like to introduce the QE band and their band friend and manager, Mark Atkinson. We can see you all there looking fantastic, all in frame. We have a real treat tonight. The QE band has volunteered to provide a performance for us and has been practicing this in the last few days. But before we kick it off, Mark, can you tell us a little bit about, just in 30 seconds or less, a bit about the journey of the QE band and how it all came together?
Yeah, sure. It started with Stephen over here singing songs that he'd learnt on the radio. And I said, would you like me to bring my guitar in one day and we'll sing a few? And he said, obviously, yeah, and it kicked off from there. And then people started saying, can I be a part of it? Can I be a part of it? And it ended up being this. Say hi, everyone. Hi.
Hi. We can see you, we can hear you.
Yeah, we've had our activities curtailed by COVID. But previous to that, we were performing at music festivals and concerts in big concert halls like the Chatswood, what's it called, the Concourse. We did a lot of busking. Since COVID has come along, it's sort of put an end to that. So we're really looking forward to this, to give us an avenue, to give us a little bit of a performance time.
Fantastic. So we're happy to bring the band out of hibernation, out of COVID hibernation. Thank you so much, QE band. You've prepared something for us tonight. I was not allowed to know what this song was. So will you, Mark, now give us a hint? Is there anything you want to say about the song?
Yeah, sure. We're going to acknowledge country. That will be our first part, but it's a bit of a medley. We're going to treat you to the guy's own lyrics in the medley, which you'll pick up on, you won't miss them. But the guys express their own self through a very popular song. And you can all sing along to the chorus because you'll all know it.
Fantastic. Take it away when you're ready.
Okay, here we go. Okay, everyone ready? Hands on? Yeah. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, on which we live and fight, and others that will prosperous and victory. Here we go. We when the people for tonight, we stand for the right, and the come and the weak stand. Now we sing thank you for the Lord, and the good Here we go. We
I am a musical man, and I am a man of song. I am the Jewish and understand, I am Australia.
We are one, but we are many. And from all diversities we come.
And we'll share a dream and sing with one voice. And that voice will say that I am, you are, we are Australia.
We are one, but we are many. And from all that we come, we share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia. I am, you are, we are Australia.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We all like your version much better. Thank you, Kiwi Band, and we're looking forward to you composing our CPA Active anthem for the future. Very much appreciated. Thanks for putting a spring in all of our step and fueling us with the hope that drives us forward. Thank you very much. So to conclude the night, one more critical conversation. I'm joined tonight by Hannah Divny. Hannah is an overachiever, to say the least. Hannah is a university student. She's a writer. She's more recently an advocate. She has a very exciting campaign to share with us tonight. She lives in Sydney, deeply passionate about improving the visibility of people living with disabilities and cerebral palsy in the community. So Hannah, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're up to?
Hi guys, it's so nice to get to talk to you. First of all, how am I supposed to follow that? That was amazing. The Kiwi Band is great. Can we like get them on television or something? I feel like that version of I Am Australian needs to be heard everywhere. But yeah, basically you summarized most of it, but I am a writer and disability advocate. And the reason I am jumping on Zoom to talk to all of you lovely people is because I have a campaign going at the moment where I am petitioning Disney to create a disabled Disney princess through a change.org petition. As of yesterday, that petition hit 35,000 signatures from around the world, which is an absolutely mind-blowing number because I honestly didn't think we'd get anything more than 100 maybe. I thought it would mainly be people who knew me and supported me and maybe a few strangers, but I've literally had people from all over the world decide that this is something that they're passionate about. And I think the link is being put in the chat as we speak for everybody to go sign it, if you wouldn't mind.
We'd be happy to. If everybody just has a moment, either now or later, please share that campaign. It's so important. We support you on this, Hannah. We can't wait to see a Disney princess that reflects the amazing diversity of our planet and our community. So keep up the good work. Any final parting words that you want to inspire us with?
I guess Joanna and Lia touched on it when they spoke earlier, but they said, like, obviously don't judge a person by their disability is the first thing, but then also to the parents and families and the people who already know that and are living with it, I think we have to be able to imagine for ourselves success in various ways, and we have to be able to not be afraid to push into areas where we haven't been seen before, and we have to be brave. And I know that there's a lot going on in everyone's lives, and I know that having CP is exhausting. Believe me, I get it. Been doing it for 21 years now. I'm well versed in the exhaustion of being disabled, but I just think if we can all band together through communities like this one, and CPActive is a wonderful initiative for doing that, we can really make some powerful change, and we can make it so that disability isn't something to be afraid of, isn't seen as something that's one-dimensional, or isn't defined necessarily in that physical achievement is the only definition of success.
Thank you, Hannah. Let's be brave together. And thanks everybody for your support to Hannah's campaign. We are running out of time. We have digested a lot tonight. We've transversed the NDIS to education, to employment, to the early years, to neuroscience. We have even heard the next rendition of Australia's new national anthem. So we've covered a lot of territory, seeing some fantastic comments and ideas come through the chat. I think it's safe to say we've started off on the right foot. I would just, before we wrap up, like to share some next steps. How can we take this forward together? I'd like to share on the screen now the launch of our new CPActive website. So you'll see in a moment the CPActive website is, we hope, a place to become a home for this community. It's a place that you will see campaigns take their origin in. You'll see scrolling down there, that is where we're encouraging you to join. Please sign up with your name and your email so we can tell you more, share with you our plans of what and where we're campaigning. Here on the screen, you'll see ways that you can be involved. It's about events like this. We want to do more of these. We want to open up these events to big audiences. We can fit a couple of thousand people in this Zoom room. So the world's our oyster. We do intend to open up our audience as well to guests like our politicians, so that you, with all of those burning questions, have the opportunity to ask pollies and decision makers the questions that resonate with you. We want to invite special guests from the other side of the world who are advocating on key issues in their countries, so we have those learning experiences. We also want to provide you with, probably every other month, a bulletin, a newsletter of sorts, where we can share latest sector updates, policy reform, campaign opportunities, and research breakthroughs like those that Iona highlighted tonight. So we'll be sharing this website with you on the chat and in a follow-up email. Please do take the time to sign up, become a member of CPActive. Someone said this week, we'd like CPActive to be the Qantas Club for advocacy for CP. So that's the opportunity here. We will love to see you, your friends, your allies, supporters, companies, members of your community, neighbours, engage in discussions like this in the future. That's what this is all about. So next time we come together, we will be sharing some of those exciting campaigns I'm alluding to. The one that's hot on our heels at the moment is something we want to take to government, hopefully this year, given that it looks like we might have a federal election this year, if not early next year. And that is a big vision to get early infant screening for all babies born in Australia implemented into the health system, so that every bub born at 3 months can be screened for any risk markers of cerebral palsy or similar conditions. But we also want to be campaigning on employment, education issues. Keep in mind that power is not always just held by government. We want to work with companies and private industry, local councils, communities to make those changes a reality. So we can't wait for you to come on the journey. We want to build a movement. We want to be ambitious, and we're all in this together. So thank you so much for spending some time on your Monday night to join us tonight. For more information, we'll be sharing a link to the Cerebral Palsy Alliance website. Please visit that page. We have a contact us page if you'd like specific information in regards to supports and services. We'll also be posting a hotline number, our ask email address, and that's available Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. So on that note, big smiles, big waves if you can. Thank you, everybody. So lovely to meet some of you. We can't wait to hear from you in the future and get CP active. Good evening and enjoy the rest of the week.